Well, hello there. Welcome to my channel. My name is Nicholas and I want to make video games. Like many kids growing up, I played video games. My parents played video games, my friends played video games, and every day after school I would come home, throw my back in the corner, sit in front of my PlayStation 1 and boot up Tekken 3 or some other classic from that era. I remember vividly growing up and watching my parents play the first Tomb Raider game on the PlayStation 1. We would huddle up together on the living room floor with homemade cinnamon bread, dimmed lights, and trying to finish the levels as fast as possible and finding all the various secrets. To this day, even though it's been many years, I still think my dad knows every inch of those maps in his head. So why am I telling you this? Well, this was the foundation for how my interest in video games started. I soon began modding games because I didn't really know how to make my own. The main game that I modded was Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast 2, where I would boot up paint and make my own skins. These modifications were often for clans of that game that wanted custom skins for their members. However, that was only the beginning. I soon heard of this game engine called Game Maker, where I tried remaking old classics such as Super Mario Bros. However, I don't have any footage of those demos, but god did they suck. To be honest, I had no idea what I was doing, and at that time YouTube tutorials were not a thing, so ultimately I was on my own. In my teens, I started college and began studying design and communication, and saw that as my segue into the game industry. However, here in Denmark there aren't really that many routes or options into making games, so therefore I kept game development as a side hobby and would come to make many unfinished projects. It was also about this time I began working with the Unity game engine. My university used game development as a way of learning programming, which was amazing. Sadly, this is where my game journey came to a halt. I got my bachelor's degree and I wanted to take a master's degree in game design and development at a university in Copenhagen, but sadly I was denied access multiple times. I soon started working as a UX UI designer where I could use many of the skills I had learned throughout the years to make websites, application, and marketing material. Q 2020. COVID-19 happened and my family was struck with a sudden health situation which put my perspective on the world upside down. I started struggling with sadness and ultimately felt very depressed. I suddenly came to the realization that my side hobbies have been completely neglected. So I forced myself to be creative again, learned new skills such as 3D. Channels like Blender Guru, Emphensia, and Polygon Runway on YouTube really ignited that childlike feeling in me again. I felt like creating again. With every model I made, I felt more energized, and ultimately I started smiling more often. I soon felt the old urge to make video games, and I was kinda nervous to try so. I had so many unfinished projects in Unity that I was afraid to jump headfirst into that hole again, with a chance of getting burned. So, I wanted a fresh start. New engine, new coding language, new faces. Which is where I found devlog, BornCG, Game Endeavor, and Heartbeasts on YouTube. Knowing absolutely nothing of the Godot engine, I quickly devoured BornCG's tutorials on let's build a 2D platformer in one seating. So 8 hours and 25 minutes later, yeah, I did the math. I was tired, but also I was extremely hooked. A lot of the stuff that I found annoying or irritating from the Unity engine was just, I guess, simpler in Godot. Plus, I really enjoyed the GD coding language. Don't get me wrong, Unity is an awesome game engine, but sometimes we just need something fresh to jumpstart us back into being creative. So, me being hungry for more, I wanted to try and convert one of my old Unity projects into Godot. However, I didn't really just want to do a remake of it. So, with inspiration from devlog and Heartbeasts, I wanted to try out pixel art. So, I did the one rush thing and went out and bought aesprite. With me never having done any pixel art before, I jumped head first into it and just went for it. I guess with me having done digital art before, it just came more naturally for me. It might have been the I feel energized and inspired feeling, so therefore it just came easier, but I feel like I landed a pretty cool place. So the game I wanted to remake was a project that I worked on in Unity called Ghosty. You play as this stylized character with a flashlight and you wander the halls of a mansion, trying to solve puzzles and being stalked by these cute little ghosts that turn evil if you shine your light on them. I was inspired by the old Super Mario games where ghosts would stalk you if you didn't look directly at them. I started researching 2D pixel art horror games on YouTube and I found this game called Last Train Home. A 2D retro pixel art game which I just loved the vibe from. With me being still very new to making pixel art, I booted up aesprite and I tried to recreate the train scene. Mind you, this would just be a placeholder while I was making the player controls, just to have something to set the mood of the project. I quickly began crafting a player character called, well, Guy, with a simple sprite sheet. He had an idle animation, a walking animation, and an animation set where he was equipped with a flashlight. The player movement was quite simple. I'm just checking if an action is pressed and changing the player's velocity on the x-axis depending on the max speed variable, plus changing the animation accordingly. So far, the player can walk left, right, but the only idle position is where he's facing right, which is definitely something that I need to work on in the future. The player can also interact with doors and pick up items. Right now there's only 2 doors, which are both locked, so they just give some auditory feedback, and there's one item, the flashlight. I just made a quick and dirty setup where I changed the sprite frames to a sprite sheet with him holding the flashlight. And that's it. Accompany that with some visuals and some sounds, and it makes for a perfect pickup effect. I also played around with Godot's 2D light system. For right now, I just wanted to be able to have a flashlight illuminate a darkened room. So once again, I booted up aesprite, did a quick light beam sprite, threw it into a light 2D, and voila, flashlight. In the script, I'm really just checking for the player's input and turning the visibility of that node on and off, plus adding some sounds, of course. The sound effects that I use right now is from the website kenny.nl, who have an awesome collection of free assets, varying from 2D, 3D, sounds, and much more. I found this website from BornCG, who used them as well. All the channels and websites that I mentioned in this video will be linked below in the description, so I highly recommend checking out those guys' videos if you want to start making your own video games. The train also consists of some animations in order to make this whole scene feel more alive. The handles are just animated sprites that loop through some frames of movement, making them sway back and forth. And also, the camera has a bit of animation on it, so it feels like the whole train is moving. I did this with just animating the offset of the camera. A few frames of changes and boom, we have a moving train. Lastly, I worked on some menus for the game, just trying out to see if I could actually make that work. It's just buttons that send signals to a script, where I change the level according to what button has been pressed. As of right now, that's all the menus I need. With it supposed to be a horror game, I really wanted to test out how to make something spooky. So here's the outcome of that. I'll just let the game play and I'll let you see how my progress is so far. So all in all, the reason I'm making this video is not only to show how this game is being made, but also to help motivate myself and to keep at it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will be sharing my progress as I move along. Hopefully you've learned something, or maybe just feel inspired to start working on your own project. And as for now, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.